Hello, I'm Maria from the Richton's Homeschool Life. Today is Saturday the 31st of December, so New Year's Eve, and I said I'd come back and give you another vlog about what my plans are for the following year, 2023. Don't make resolutions. I don't think I've made any resolutions since I was probably a late teenager, early 20s, when I realised that they never worked. I never stuck to what I said, and there were always things like, oh, I'm going to lose weight and that sort of thing, but I gave up on that long ago. So what we tend to do, have plans. I mean, we're always jotting things down, like plans for the year, thinking we're going to do this, going to do that. And so that's mainly what it is, plans and things that we'd like to try and achieve or we're working towards in the year ahead. I had to have a look at last year's video to see what I'd said this time of the year last year and whether any of it had come forward, succeeded. But basically, I hadn't said a great deal different to what I will say today. I talked about Sean's homeschooling, where that was going. I talked about homesteading, how we do the garden and all about that. I talked about Dean trying to lower his work and try and earn more from home if we could. I talked about selling. So basically, I'm just going to go through the same things again and tell you what the goals are for next year. As for achieving everything went how I wanted it to go last year. We've added a few bits on, and the only thing we did change was the selling bit of it. But yeah, we'll start on the homeschooling. As you know, I've got a 14-year-old daughter. She would be secondary educated in the UK. She is year 9. I always have to think about it because you lose track when they don't go to school. So she was in school, she'd be year 9. We've been following Key Stage 3 books, which is like years 7, 8 and 9 do Key Stage 3, and then come September she'll move into Key Stage 4. So we've been following books, so she's been keeping up roughly along with schools in case she ever wanted to go back into school or anything like that. So we've roughly kept up. We are now, though, because some of the books are ending or have ended, we're moving towards more self-led things, doing it in a self-led style. So similar lessons, but more in the self-led way of her own interest. So for instance, geography. She's not a big fan of geography. She doesn't really like geography. If she's to learn about things like earthquakes, things like that, it might be on the news and she might take an interest and ask about it. And that's that, she doesn't want to sit doing reams and reams of writing or studying about it. She's happy to just inquire about it, maybe have a quick read about it if something's occurred somewhere. So she gets her information that way, although she's done it when she was in primary school, because she did go to primary school, and she's done it in a Key Stage 3 book. So she's not really interested in it any further. Her thing for geography is countries. She loves countries. So what we're going to do, because we finished the Key Stage 3 book, rather than leap ahead into Key Stage 4, which you can do when you're home educated, your children, and I can see how easily it's done, they can get miles and miles ahead of where they need to be in subjects they like, and it works the opposite as well for subjects they're not so strong in, you can take your time with. But yeah, I thought what we'll do then, because she likes countries, she's going to write when she's back to school. She's having next week off, and then she's going back to school the following Monday, back to school. Kitchen table. But yeah, she's restarting school a week on Monday. And for her geography, what she's going to do is write down all the countries, every single country there is. And then each week, when she's having a geography lesson, she's going to study each country. Now, she knows a lot about countries anyway. You've seen her with her flags and things like that, and all the country games, and she's had more for Christmas. So she knows quite a bit, but she's going to go a bit more in depth about them, each country, and how it operates, and trade and things like that. She's going to learn a bit more about each country. So I thought that's quite good, and she'll enjoy doing that. So that's what she's going to be doing for geography. So yeah, as things progress, I'll keep you informed of what she's doing. We'll have vlogs on what she's doing and how things are changing, what's working, what's not working, all the normal stuff, that we normally do throughout the year. So yeah, quite happy with homeschooling. Everything's going good, and like I say, we're going to evolve into how she wants it done, what she's interested in. What was next? The homesteading bit, the gardening bit. We're quite happy last year. We grew crops. I tried to keep all the caterpillars out, and I was pretty much successful, except for the Brussels sprouts, which is weird because the tops came off everything when butterfly season was over and it was getting colder. Because so it's good for the Brussels and the parsnips to have a good frost. Do you know what? Caterpillars, right through the frost, that hard frost we had, caterpillars survived and ate all the leaves and everything away. I cannot believe it. So we're going to have to change the way we look at things in the garden. I don't want to put the white covers on like we had this year, because I found that although they dried out quick and you had to keep watering them, when it rained, it was holding the moisture in and it wasn't drying out, and it rotted all my beetroot and things like that. So I got no beetroot this year. And every year I always get a year's worth of beetroot. This year was the first year I didn't get any. So I'm thinking, when we used to have an allotment, we had like fine mesh that went round all of our brassicas and that to keep the butterflies off. So I'm thinking that's what we'll do. So Dean's saying he's going to take the white fleecy stuff off, keep the main frame, and then we're going to cover it with the fine mesh and see how that goes. Hopefully that will do the trick. But it's all trial and error, it's all trial and error. So on that note, I want to grow vegetables that we eat. I want to try and eat a lot healthier because I find myself slipping into junk food a lot. And the one thing I really hate and I really want to eliminate as far as possible is sugar. Sugar's a poison, and if you can avoid it, avoid it. It causes a lot of problems and ill health. And so, I want to reevaluate our diet, what we eat, and eat more like when I was a child, even, like your meat and potatoes and 3 veg that you used to have. And then you think, I don't want all this veg. But when you look back now and to the diets we have now compared to the diets then, you think that was a lot healthier. So yeah, I do want to do more of that. And not this Christmas, I'm not sure if it's last Christmas or the Christmas before, I was given some menu planners, like in a book, and you fill in each day your menu. So from January the 1st, I'm going to start filling it in with meals that we have, and hopefully we'll get some good healthy options what we can have. So that's my plan for the year ahead. I probably said that last year actually, but it ended up a bit hit and miss, and mainly because we did lose some crops due to them rotting with these white tops on. So yeah, that's what I intend to do. And I did do I don't know if anybody watched, but I planted some lettuces in the greenhouse around about November time. I've not planted them on yet. They're still alive and they're growing in the seed tray. They're quite, sort of like that. And I need to plant them in the tubs. I watered some big tubs that I had the cucumbers in, ready to put in the ground, and I haven't put them in there yet. Well, in the ground, in the tubs. I haven't put them in yet. So that is something I must do and see how quick they grow on. Even if it's slow growing and we get early spring lettuce, that's not a bad thing, is it? So we'll get some. So yeah, that's something I've got to do. Thinking of outdoors, something I didn't have to tell you about last year, but obviously recently I did tell you about, was our new project that we're hoping to start up, a business venture called Hopperties. So if you're new here or you've not heard me talk about it before, years and years and years ago, before Sean was born, I run a rabbit boarding place called Hopperties to look after rabbits when people were on holidays and things like that. And when Sean come along, obviously, because I was an older mum and everything, I didn't really have the time to keep doing it, so I stopped doing it. But we've decided now to have a go at reopening the Hopperties and boarding rabbits again. But as well as that, we're going to be doing rabbit grooming. Have a go at rabbit grooming. I mean, we groom our own, but yeah, we want to do some rabbit grooming and see how that goes, as well as boarding. So that's something that we're working on. I mean, if you've seen some of my videos a couple back, well, more than a couple actually, because I forgot I did Vlogmas. So a few weeks back, I showed you about the shed that we got outside. I never normally showed you before because it was full of junk, but I took you in there and showed you. The shed was a bit dilapidated on one side. It was rotting and we'd not realised. So Dina fixed that, that's okay. But that's ready now to be done out, and I want to line it with some damp-proof stuff and then board it out and get it started for that. But what we're aiming, what I was saying to Dean, was maybe if we can set up the boarding part first, because we wanted to build like a courtyard in front of that shed. If we can start the board and get that bit started first, because that hasn't got so much work to do and it'll be a lot easier, then we can be working on the actual shed for Hoppty's grooming while we've got the boarding up and running. That's the idea anyway. But I'll bring you along on this journey. I'll show you what we're doing. So that's something that we're hoping to do this year. Next year. It was this year's idea for next year. Yeah, so there was that. Selling. Now last year I talked about selling. Now I have this thing, I love selling. And I've always got so much junk. I've got stuff everywhere. I've got boxes of toys out of Sean's room, some of them brand new, never touched, never even been opened, that she doesn't want no more and that I could sell. Now, I used to sell on eBay and I did a bit of selling on eBay. I thought we'll get back into it, but I don't know. It just doesn't. In the past, it's worked and I've made quite a bit of money from it for like furnishing my house and everything. But I just cannot get into it like I did before. I just can't do it. So I thought, well, maybe I will sort of shelve the selling for the time being, and then, I don't know, maybe look at it in another format. I wouldn't mind doing markets and car boots, sort of doing it in that way. So maybe that's the way that I'll go at it this year. If we can look at sort of markets and car boots, maybe markets more for the crafting side of things, because I've got a daughter who would like to do crafting. She's interested in crafting, and I'm thinking maybe, because I used to do markets before with crafted items, maybe we should think about along the lines of that, and then some car boots for selling all the other stuff. The only thing is, some of the things that are obviously worth a lot more that you can't put on a car boot, because you can only get a couple of quid at the most for items on the car boot. Some things that are worth a lot more, I think I will have to perhaps sell on eBay. I will perhaps have to do that. But then, you know, all the postal system at the moment is a bit kaput with that. But yeah, something to think about, something to sort out, all that is. So yeah, I think basically that's it for this year. I think the majority of this year we're going to be homeschooling, homesteading with the garden and working out good diets and exercise. That's another thing. I want to walk more. I like to walk, mainly because we need to walk the dog as well, because she needs her exercise, but also because I'd like to get back into walking more. I enjoy the peace and quiet when you go for a nice country walk, and it's thinking time. It's thinking and talking time, you know, like me and Sean will talk to each other, or me and Dean, and we'll all talk as a family and having a walk along, and it's good thinking time. You can just wander along, sit on a riverbank, because we walk down by a river, and just think about things that you want to think about, because it seems to make your head clearer for some reason. I don't know why, but it does. So that's something I want to do more of as well, every day really, if I can fit it in every day, unless the weather's really extreme, of course, then it wouldn't be wise. But yeah, they're the sort of things I'm looking toward doing this year. And of course I'm going to bring you all with me on the journey. I have been doing videos just on a Tuesday for homeschooling, and also I've been just recently started doing, was it Friday ones, for what was happening outside. But I'm going to scrap Tuesdays and Fridays, and you know, where I have specific days for this, that and the other, because you don't always have something to show. I want to go with the flow and just show things as they happen, tell you about things that are happening, maybe show you hauls, take you out on day trips, tell you what's going on outside, show you what's happening at Opperty, show you what Sean's doing. And I always want to do plenty of homeschool ones as well. So all you people who've joined me, especially for the homeschooling, they're not going nowhere. There'll be something probably each week about them. But I'm not going to set to a specific day yet. We'll see what pattern it all falls into first. Because at the moment, I lost my mojo a bit. But yeah, I'm not sure where I am at the minute. So yeah, we want to get started on things, and then everything will go into a pattern of its own. But I'll be here every week. I just don't know what day. So you'll have to just pop your notifications on, and I'll pop up then. You won't miss me. And see what I'm doing. You can follow along everything I'm doing, see what succeeds, what doesn't succeed, how Sean's doing with homeschooling and what we're doing with the homeschooling, whether we go out somewhere or whether I buy some interesting things that I want to show you, or even like keeping you up to date with things that are going on in the world, because I quite often read about a lot of things and I think, oh dear, you know, and I want to talk about it because it could be something to do with education. I see a few things about education and then I think, well, my videos are on a Tuesday. Well, while I'm sort of got it there and hot on it sort of thing, I want to just flip my camera on and talk about it. So I don't want to specifically stick to certain days, and might all be all kinds of things. So yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be doing in the year ahead. And by the end of next year, you probably know more about me than I know myself. But no, you'll definitely probably get to know me much better, because it'll just be daily life. Because homeschooling's great, but obviously there's more to us than homeschooling. So on that note, I'm going to love and leave you, and I'm going to see you next week at some point. I'm not sure what day, but like I say, pop your notifications on and watch out for me, and I'll be back next week. In the meantime, have a lovely new year, and I wish all of you the best. So bye for now.